AIME is here to serve you another dish with a little bit of sales advice, plus getting to learn about some special human beings. Today, we have Ashley Miller, Director of Growth at Empire Home Loans. How you doing today?
Good. So we're making a pizza. So a little twist, it's a little luxury version of the pizza. It's mascarpone with pear, truffle oil, and prosciutto. My favorite. Truffle oil. Do you ever cook with this?
Yes, I love. Y'all, can you please show?
Oh God, I wish you guys could smell that.
I'll send it your way, okay?
You've got to work with people you like. So define what that looks like. Define what your perfect salesperson looks like. What does your perfect team look like? What personality traits do they have? What do you want out of that person? This right here is the star of the show. I've done this a million different ways and I've messed them up before and it still tastes really good because all these flavors play so good together. Focus on the actions in between and focus on all the steps in between. Look at your loan process from the moment you get up and check the mail as part of your loan process. That's data, right? I mean, that's 5 minutes out of your day. You know, as you're trying to scale a business and you're looking for people to come in and take certain things off your desk, you need to know all these things. But I think we like instant gratification. I think that's also an inherent personality trait of a salesperson. And that instant gratification is the closed loan or the recruit that just converted for you. But all of that is the outcome. Everything else in between is the action it takes to get there. And that action that you take to get there is what compounds on each other to lead to the greater outcomes.
Y'all, it smells so good in here. You have no idea.
Probably almost
the truff
done.
is just going to his house. AIME is here to serve you another dish with a little bit of sales advice, plus getting to learn about some special human beings. Today, we have Ashley Miller, Director of Growth at Empire Home Loans. How you doing today?
Good.
So we are here about 11 hours later from Michigan to Sacramento, and you graciously opened up your home for us. And what are you making today before we get into everything?
So we're making a pizza, but we're making a fancy pizza. This isn't your standard pepperoni and cheese pizza. I used to make this probably once every 2 weeks for my girlfriends. This was my girls' night pizza. So a little twist, it's a little luxury version of the pizza. It's mascarpone with pear, truffle oil, and prosciutto.
Okay,
it's
so we're stepping up the game over here with the pizza making sauce.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
so
sir.
As we start getting into this, what we want to talk about today is just learning about you. You shared a little bit with me earlier, so both you and I have a bit of a service background. I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings for quite some time, back when chicken wings were actually cheap and you could afford to go on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But how did your journey start in mortgages? Fill us in a little bit as we start going through here.
Very similar to you. I had graduated and it was during a time where there just wasn't a whole lot of work and you were competing with everybody for the same jobs. And so it was a little discouraging for me to do that, to go down that road. And I wasn't quite sure what my career path was yet. So there wasn't anything in my sights that I felt like I really had to go after. So I stayed in the service industry because I had done that since I was about 18 years old and I did it all through college. I knew it, I was good at it, I could make money in it. So I figured I would do that until something came along. And I happened to stumble into the industry. My first boss was one of my regulars and he's like, you would be great at mortgage. And I didn't know what that meant because like mortgage wasn't something that, I mean, I failed math all through college. So the fact that I work in mortgage is hilarious for one, but they offered health benefits and I thought that was really cool. And it felt very adult for me to go get my own health benefits. So I took the job and I started as a receptionist and I did that for about 3 weeks. And then he moved me to the back as his assistant. And from there, I learned everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. I've done it all but processing. That's probably the only position I have not held in this industry.
You know, I have a question about like people that get into the space that don't really know it. And it's crazy because I feel like a lot of us start in that same path, which is wild that we're not taught it in school.
Right.
So before I get into it, what's the first steps here?
Oh, first steps. Okay. My favorite, truffle oil. Do you ever cook with this?
Yes, I love. Y'all, can you please show?
Oh God, I wish you guys could smell that.
I'll send it your way, okay? It is, if you haven't tried this stuff, truff, it is fantastic. You have to start leveraging this. It is a perfect way to cook. But go ahead, start that.
I put it on everything, but we start with this. I've made mashed potatoes with truffle oil. I put it on chicken, pasta.
You know, the only issue with these is my trainer is going to kill me. After every one of these cooking videos, it's fantastic.
Not tonight.
So going back to it, for a lot of people out there that they get nervous about the mortgage space. They don't really know what it is. You said something like, yeah, you know, I didn't do well in math, neither did I. You hear that stuff a lot.
Yeah.
What do you tell somebody newer to the space? They have the drive, they're eager to learn, they've gone through college. Like, how did you overcome that situation where you're like, okay, I went to college for this, but now I'm doing this.
Right.
How did you get over that in your head?
You know, once I got into my first job and I was working at the front desk, I just really enjoyed the fast pace of it. Everyone was highly motivated. There's a lot of grit and determination in people that get into the mortgage industry and stay in the mortgage industry. You learn how to do the job when you're doing the job, but it takes a certain type of personality trait to actually be good at it. And I liked that. I felt empowered by that, and I wanted to be that. I wanted to become like one of the top dogs. And so I dug my heels in, and the more I started to learn, the more I was really interested in it. There's a lot of nuances and intricacies to the business, and not every transaction's the same. And so the days didn't feel like Groundhog Day. I wasn't coming to work to the same old thing over and over. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And then just getting to dig in with homeowners and learn, just like we're doing, you're learning my journey, to learn their journey too and what drives them, why they're purchasing a house. I've had some of the best conversations I've had have been with homeowners. That was pretty incredible to me. So after that, it was just lights out. I was in it for the long haul, and I knew that I was going to dig my heels in so far into this industry that there was no kicking me out of it.
So the addiction kicked in pretty early.
Totally.
In the space. So what are we adding next here?
Okay, so now we're adding mascarpone cheese. Have you ever had this?
I have not, and I'm just so excited to try this right now. You have
so
no
good.
idea. We just started.
So it's creamy. So this whole thing is gonna blend together a whole bunch of flavors. You're gonna have creamy, sweet, and salty. But this right here is the star of the show. It's my favorite. And with this pizza, there's really no wrong way to do it, because no matter, I've done this a million different ways and I've messed them up before, and it still tastes really good because all these flavors play so good together. So my hands are clean, by the way, promise.
You're not
promise.
We're good, I promise. I grew up in a Middle Eastern household, okay? Things were done, you eat with your hands, just so you know, in the household I grew up in.
I love that.
You know, I'm here's what's, you said it earlier, you said personality. There's a personality type that people need to have.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of people are afraid sometimes to be as raw, as candid with others that want to join the space about what that personality requires.
Sure.
So I'm going to give my 2 cents on it, but I'd love to hear what you mean by it, because we've had 2 different paths, right?
Yeah.
Coming into the space. And I've gone down the path as a male, right?
Right.
And so my journey, I know, has been different
Yeah.
than yours too. And I think personality-wise, there are similarities, but things that we're going to have to navigate differently. And I'm sure you've had to put a line in the sand
Sure.
as you've gone through your journey.
Yep.
So for me, from a personality standpoint, y'all, people that want to get into this space, you have to learn to manage stress better than anybody you've ever met. And I mean real stress. You got to get rid of your, we're just going to say it. You got to stop talking shit about what's going on with other people and on other people's lives. You got to focus on you, your consumers, and what's in front of you, on how to be a better person at your craft. No one else is going to help you do it. No one else really cares. And if you're spending your time focusing on things that don't matter, you're going to catch yourself behind. And that's just something that I talk about with people. What can you control? What can you actually focus on? How do you take accountability? How do you take ownership? And are you a good listener? So those are just a couple things for me. What path do you have? What pieces of advice do you have for people from a personality standpoint?
You know, I think you have to have a thick skin, a really thick skin. I grew up with brothers, and I've worked for men my whole entire life. Up until now, Empire's owned by Julie Yarbrough, so it's a women-owned company, but there's still 2 other male leaders of the company. I've worked with men pretty much my whole entire career, and I think I just inherently have a thick skin, but you have to have the ability to let stuff roll. Like you were saying, control what you can control, and what you can't, you've just got to be able to move on from it and keep a low stress profile. So I think that has been one of the reasons why I've been able to kind of get as far as I've got, because I don't let the small stuff ruffle my feathers. And you have to have the ability to pivot quickly in this industry too. You've always got to be able to readapt, because it changes so fast. And just even in the last 5 years, I mean, the landscape of this industry looks completely different than it did when I first got into it. And so things are moving very rapidly, and you've got to be able to lean into it.
There's so much to your journey and your story. Talk me through right now with what you're doing at Empire Home Loans. How did you get into the spot you're in? You obviously know a lot about the mortgage process inside and out. Mm-hmm. You've helped scale companies, you've helped build companies, you're constantly focusing on people's growth. What does the journey look like for you now? What is your day-to-day?
So my main focus, what moves the needle the most for the company, is going to be recruitment, and either transitioning loan officers over to the retail side or bringing new people in that want to get into the mortgage industry. I was taught everything that I know now from the ground up, and so I feel this passion to pay it forward and teach somebody else too, because it has offered me such a wonderful lifestyle, and I'm just so thankful for the guy that brought me into the industry. So I want to be that for somebody else. So at Empire, my main focus is growth, which involves recruitment, but then it also involves the development of the loan officers that work with us too as well, and making sure that they're supported. So with that comes coaching, development, new strategy, new skills. I am someone who is really interested in technology. I might not know the technology, and I always say I don't have a very techie brain, but I want to learn about it because there's so many advancements and they're happening so quickly. So any new thing, any new shiny object, I hate to call it that, but anything new that's coming to us that can enhance one of our loan officers' business, that can enhance the company's business, I'm diving into it, I'm bringing it to the company, I'm teaching people about it, or at least showing them that this is what's out there. And I think the most rewarding thing for me is when somebody comes to me and tells me that was incredibly valuable what you just shared with me, and thank you so much because you just opened my eyes to something new.
So you have a lot of conversations, it sounds like.
All
right?
day.
Loan officers, retail. All right, so I got one. If I'm putting you on the spot,
Okay.
you can ignore it. But I am sure you probably talk to a lot of people that might not be the right fit.
Right.
And they have what I like to call, there's no better way for me to put this except victim mentality, which
Right.
is, my loan went bad because it was everybody else's fault, even though I make the most money on the file. Yes, loan officers, I'm talking to you because I write loans too. So, with that being said, how do you deal with victim mentality? Because I'm sure you talk to a lot of people where you're like, this sounds like a you thing,
Right.
not everybody else. So what do you do? How do you start that conversation?
I try to dig in a bit more, and I try to lead with curiosity, and I'll ask questions. Knowing where I want their answer to come, I try to steer them into that. So by asking questions and hearing them repeat back to me, my hope is as they hear themselves talking about it, they sometimes come full circle and will say, oh, maybe I didn't do this, or maybe I missed this step. And it does happen. I would say about 60% of my conversations, they'll get there on their own, just by asking questions, getting curious, and making them curious of their own process too. So I think a lot of the times salespeople, they don't mean to be egotistical or short-sighted in these situations, but that's just how you're built as a salesperson, right? There's an inherent nature to that. And by, I think, having just a conversation with them, because if I go to someone and I say, no, you did this and you did that, they're gonna go on the defense. And then we're gonna be battling, right? So if I can come from a place of just having a conversation, I'm gonna get curious, we're gonna find out what happened, I'm gonna lead you to some of these answers, then we can get to the bottom of like what really went wrong. And then from there, we can strategize on how to fix it going forward, have an after action plan on what not to do next time. Have you ever read The Crisis Negotiator? I think that's what it's called.
No, I have not.
So that was where I kind of learned some of those tactics, right? It's like, how do negotiators get to the bottom of these things with, like criminals? How do they diffuse situations?
Who wrote that? That's hold on.
Chris Voss.
Is that he was like the interrogator?
He
right?
was, he was the
Yes.
#1 negotiator. So I read that book a couple years ago, and that really stuck with me because it's all about having the conversation with the person and getting them to where you want them to be versus coming in and just over the top attacking them. They're going to go on the defense. You're never going to get anything solved by doing it that way.
This is, Rami, make sure we save that book because her approach is better than mine. All right, and I'm working on my approach. But it is good because, like, to your point, it's what I've found is you do end up finding those people that really admit, and you do see them change their tune, and that is the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
As we go through this right now, so we've added prosciutto.
Yep.
We've added, if you can fill us in, where are we at now?
Yep, so we've added prosciutto to the pizza, and now I'm going to top it off with pear, and you're going to get that salty and sweet mix, and you're going to get the cream of the mascarpone cheese from underneath it. Okay. And it is going to be so good.
I do want to talk a little bit about personal life.
Yes.
On your side. So you're engaged.
I'm engaged.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. 3 total kids.
Yes.
In the mix. What is that conversation like? What's the communication like? And for those in the audience out there, he is over here in the corner. I know you can't see him. He won't say what he said earlier. Maybe he will. But
do we have that on film?
we do. We have it on film. But no, jokes aside, I'm recently married, have 3 kids myself. And with our space and what we do, it's not that it's hard, but you're dealing with people all day. And sometimes you get home and you have to communicate with the other person and you're just, all right. I tell my wife sometimes, babe, like, I need a minute. I got to go downstairs, leave me alone. I got to figure it out. How important is that communication for the two of you?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. And I think that work and home life are so intertwined with each other that if you're not fulfilled at one, you're not going to be fulfilled at the other, and then vice versa. So you've got to have great supportive home life and you have to have a great supportive work life too. You have to be aligned in those areas. And you might not be aligned every day, all day in those areas, but the underlying piece of support has to always be consistent. And so I think it's just having that honest conversation. Like, I need a minute, please. There's plenty of times where I get home and he's got wine poured for me because
so awesome.
we've been talking throughout the day, about how the days are going. And in our industry, I mean, look, you're here in California right now. You're away from your family.
Yeah.
Like, we have so many opportunities where we have to travel and we're away from our families. And it takes a lot of trust from the significant others because they don't know who we're with most of the time, right? They might have heard these names, seen some photos, but they don't know them. And that's got to be hard for a spouse. And we deal with it too with him because he's a coach. And so he does the same thing. He has a travel ball league that he has to travel. He's gone pretty much the whole month of July. And so I think for one, it takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of communication while you're gone and you're on the road. So we're always checking in with each other too and keeping each other updated on what's going on. And I think that from his perspective, for him to be able to give me that space and give me that grace if I've had a bad day or if I need a minute, takes a lot of work on his end too, because it's easy to take it personal if someone comes home and they don't want to talk to you right away. And it's nothing to do with you, but it's just everything to do with the decompress. I just need to decompress. And so it takes a very strong individual, I think, to be in a relationship married to somebody that's in a position like we're in, where it's high stress. Oftentimes there's plenty of nights where I've been working until 10 o'clock at night and that's just part of the job, right? And so communication is everything. I think if you don't have solid communication with your partner, then I hate to say it, but you're going to have some rough road ahead of you if you can't get that piece worked out.
No, say it, because it's the truth. And you said something earlier that I love. And my wife and I talk about this. Like, my wife is a very secure person, very secure. But you know what? It doesn't hurt to call her and just check in for 30 seconds, even if it's a minute. Even if it's, hey, babe, I'm going into this next meeting. I just like, it's such an important piece for me. And I don't care how secure. I know she's secure. That's not the point.
Right.
The point is, that's my habit. That's my routine. I make that my routine for her. I know then if I'm not doing it, now she's like, wait, why isn't he doing it?
Right.
So we're building those good habits up front.
Right.
And that's what you're talking about. So like, I don't feel bad about what you're saying. And I think you're right. Like, if you don't communicate with your significant other, it's a problem.
It is.
Especially in our space, because you know our space. You know how some of these people are.
Right.
And it's like, okay, here's how this works. We need that supportive partner on the other side of things. Because if the home life isn't where you need it to be, what are you going to do about your personal life? Or your work life, I should
Right,
say.
exactly. Because if I wake up here and I'm waking up unhappy, where do you think that's going to then spill into next? Where am I going next? I'm going into the office next. It's going to overflow in all those areas of life. And then when there's kids involved, too, that's a big piece of it also.
Well, it's that next layer, because, there's that piece with your kids now, right?
Yeah.
And then if they're having a bad day, in turn, sometimes you can have a bad day. And then if you don't communicate to your significant other, then it's a whole riff of things. And everyone's trying to figure out, like, who's right, who's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Your resentment's building.
You're not juggling
talking
anymore.
Yes.
Those balls are just everywhere.
Yes. No, that's so strong. I love that you said. I think a lot of people ignore that fact. And it is a fact. It is something you have to deal with. So what are we doing next?
We are going to put this in the oven.
Perfect.
This is going to take about 10, 11 minutes. I'm not a timer girl at all.
Me neither.
Eyeball, I just kind of feel it, and that's how we know we're done. But I'm going to pop this in the oven.
That's the Italian side of you.
It is.
Yep. I got you.
Thank you. Okay.
Here you are, chef.
Try not to burn myself while we're doing that.
There we go.
Okay.
So we're going to wait on that about 11, 12 minutes. And that was a process, right? And you went through the steps and you made sure everything was done in a specific order. Talk to me about process and the importance of it whenever it comes to anybody looking to scale your company. So we have a lot of new broker owners inside of our organization. When it comes to the process, where would you tell them to start from your experience and what you've seen actually works or doesn't?
Step one is to really define your vision and what this company looks like to you 5 to 10 years down the road. What is that vision? Because if you don't have a vision, you've got nothing for somebody to buy into. And that's what creates trust with people that will run through the wall with you, right? If they can see your vision and they're aligned in that vision, that's what's going to create that magic where you know what you're speaking to. So that's number one. Number two is really define who you want to work with. I think that's super important. Like, I want to get real with who I want to work with. We've got a policy at Empire, no a-holes allowed, and we stick to that.
That sounds like Julie.
Yeah, and we stick to that. And it's, You know, it's like we were talking about with the home life. Work life also matters, and you have to make sure that you're working with people you like. So for me, it's not about like a top producer necessarily. It's, will we be able to work well together, and do I like you? I mean, as simple as that. You've got to work with people you like. So define what that looks like. Define what your perfect salesperson looks like. What does your perfect team look like? What personality traits do they have? What do you want out of that person? Define that. And then for me, data is huge. So you have to know your data. You got to know your data.
Can you say why? Can you tell a loan officer, for the love of God, why do you need data?
Because what you measure gets improved upon. That is one of the biggest things, is you've got to take a look at, I mean, the numbers don't lie, right?
No.
Like, numbers don't lie. So you want to make sure that you're able to, one, have it in place where you're measuring what you're doing week over week, month over month. I look at these metrics for myself and the company every single week. And then I'm also looking at metrics for people outside of the company every single week. So the data itself doesn't lie. And I think that's how you can get really clear on what your next move is when you have that data. And then when you're improving on your processes and your systems and all those things, what you can measure gets improved upon. If I have nothing to look at where I came from, then I have no idea in my process where the holes are that I can fill, or what worked and what I can continue to nurture.
This is so, like, a lot of LOs are skipping this right now. And like, for me, it's hard because, like, I get it. There's money, you have to spend time, you have to, but to your point, how do you know where you're headed if you have no idea where you're at?
Right,
today?
right.
Like every single sport, everything out there, the data analytics are insane.
Right.
And they're correct.
Right.
They're spot on. You know, I worked in retail, very large company. Mm-hmm. Okay, massive company. Probably guess who they are.
I know who they are.
Exactly. Did you know pulling credit within the first 5 minutes increased your conversion? Did you know that?
Yeah, I think.
But when we talk to other
right. That's
brokers
something that
about
just
it,
gets lost on them, right?
So why? Why does it get lost when you're talking to a lot of these folks as you're bringing them on and you're recruiting them? Why is it they skip that data piece so much?
I think because most are just so used to going through the motion, and they're
Yes.
focused on the outcome. So the outcome's either a closed loan or a recruited loan officer is my outcome. But when I'm focused on the outcome, I'm missing everything in between if I'm only focused on what the outcome is. And so I tell even my loan officers all the time with their sales tactics too, focus on the actions in between and focus on all the steps in between. Look at your loan process from the moment you get up and check the mail as part of your loan process. That's data, right? I mean, that's 5 minutes out of your day. You know, as you're trying to scale a business and you're looking for people to come in and take certain things off your desk, you need to know all these things. But I think we like instant gratification. I think that's also an inherent personality trait of a salesperson. And that instant gratification is the closed loan or the recruit that just converted for you. But all of that is the outcome. Everything else in between is the action it takes to get there. And that action that you take to get there is what compounds on each other to lead to the greater outcome. So you really need to focus on those actions. It's what's going to get you to the final destination.
Every field, like, doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter what sport you're playing, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Like, the instant gratification is such a problem that we have today in our society, where you're right. It's like, I want the closed loan, I want the check, which I get, by the way, right? That's how you put food on your table.
Totally.
We're on the same
And that's
page.
also data.
Yes.
You know, your conversion is what you close. So that's a data piece.
It is. It's a big piece, and I don't want to harp on it anymore because it's going to drive me crazy, and I'm going to go off the wall talking about it because it's hard to get through to everybody about the importance of this. So you talked about no a-holes.
Yes.
At the company, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's funny, but there's a thing to this. Like, I feel like when I was early in my career, there are certain things that I let slide, right? Oh, that's a top producer. No, it's okay. I know he yelled at so-and-so, but it's okay.
Right.
And I would get excited because I don't want to lose this person. But what happens is you're telling everybody else that this is acceptable.
Right, exactly.
Is the issue you run into. So when you say no a-holes, can you explain what that means? Because I know what it is.
Yeah.
Someone out there, but what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a big overarching term for a lot of different personality traits. For me personally, it's how do you treat your operations staff? How are you treating the lenders that we're working with? How are you treating your AE? You know, all of that part of it. And for me, I think one of the biggest things is in this industry, things are going to go wrong all the time. I think that's something that we can guarantee. Like something's going to go wrong all the time, but how do you handle that when that happens? Are you the type to just yell and scream and start pointing fingers, or are you a thumb pointer? because it starts with you at the end of the day, right? So not only is it just how do you treat the people in the process, but are you taking responsibility and accountability for your part in it too, right? So that's a big thing. Another thing of it is how do you treat the rest of the team? So at Empire, for example, we're very collaborative. We do trainings and Zooms every single day. Everything from like marketing to best practices in Arrive to loan structure, guidance, and things like that. So the team is always together. And because of that, we're all connected on social media and Facebook and things like that. And you're going to have different personalities and some people are going to clash. But do you have enough respect for your peer and for your colleague to let certain things not get to you, right? So how are you treating your peers and your colleagues? I always say that if you think of it in a grocery store and you're buying a carton of strawberries and you got a strawberry in the middle that's starting to mold and rot, what's it going to do to everything around it? It's going to mold and rot it.
Mold and rot.
Right.
Culture
So
kills, yeah.
culture will kill, right? Culture can help you soar or it can also kill at the same time, depending on, how you do it. And so I am quick to move negativity out because I don't want it to rot everything else around me.
Were you always that way, or is that something you've learned over time?
I've learned, I've learned that. I mean, and I'm still somewhat of a people pleaser and a yes ma'am. And it's something that I'm constantly working on. Give that a few more minutes. It's something I'm constantly working on because for me, I just like to help and support people at the end of the day. And I want to be somebody that someone can rely upon. And where those lines get a little blurred is, am I being a little too kind right now or allowing someone to walk all over me a little bit? So I'm still learning it. It's not something I've mastered by any means, but I have a very, very long fuse, but when the fuse hits, then I'm done.
Lights out.
Yeah. Then I'm done.
You're self-aware.
Yeah.
And it takes time, to become self-aware of those, even habits. Like, where do I need to improve on my own personal self? You said earlier, right, the thumb pointing. And I want to talk about planning for a second. And I'm curious how you plan your personal life, how you plan your work life. You said something earlier. You said, everything trickles into everything in your life. It's your life. It's not work-life balance. It's just your life.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn, do you know who that is by chance?
Yes.
So Jim Rohn, love him. Huge personal influence speaker in my life, passed away in 2013. But he said something. He said, I told my mentor one time that if I had more money, I'd have a better plan. And his mentor replied and said, if you had a better plan, you'd have more money. Mm-hmm. And that quote's been stuck in my head forever. Now, what do you think about that quote when it comes to planning your personal life, your work life, your kids, with your fiance, with everybody else? Like, how important is the planning piece to you?
It's incredibly important. And that's also something I still work on constantly as well. I preach it a lot to my sales team about the importance of keeping a calendar, time blocking, all those things. And it's that whole thing too, failing to plan is planning to fail, yes. Right? And so that was something where, there was a couple years ago that I was like missing meetings by accident, or just even in my personal life, like, the girls would want to do a girls' night. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be there, and totally forgot I'm supposed to be over here at this time. And so I was like missing things. And then there's that level of stress because now I'm constantly working backwards instead of forward. So I'm reactive instead of proactive. And then because I'm stressed, then where do you think it spills onto? My poor children, right? So that's not fair. And so I really had to pull back on all of it and take a hard look at you're the problem, thumb pointing, right? You're the problem here. Like you're not organized. I believe that we could do as much as we want and we can leverage certain things to get us the outcome that we want. And I'm not a person that's going to say no to anything, but I've got to make sure that I have got a real good plan in place, a solid plan in place in order to be able to accomplish those things. For me, it's as simple as a calendar. I have to stick to it. And I use my calendar for task management. So, I put things on there all the time. Like Julie will be like, I can't tell what is going on with your day to day because you've got so much on there. But for me, it's task management. Having 3 kids and having a fiance who goes on the road all the time for ball, that is incredibly important that we have that scheduled out. And then not only do I have to schedule it, but you have to live into it. So I can't just put it on the calendar and say, well, it's on the calendar, it's going to magically get done. You've got to live into it. So I check it in the night before I go to bed. I check it in the morning when I wake up. I will reprioritize things as need be. But it's as simple as a calendar, and there's different things that you can use. Mine's just the Outlook, but there's AI sources out there to help you keep your day organized and things like that. I haven't quite gone down that road yet. I'm just very old school with a calendar and pen and paper to-do list.
I love that. Y'all, it smells so good in here. You have no idea.
Probably almost
the truff
done.
is just going through this house. While she's checking on that, with your calendars, you have to start add one thing a week. Don't overload yourself. Like if you can hear the way she's speaking about it. She's obviously been doing this for some time, and she's still learning. I'm still learning. But for a lot of newer LOs out there, if you don't know where to start, you got to add one thing, maybe two things. Do not sit down on Sunday if you've never planned out a calendar and then map out your Monday through Friday, filling it with 8 hours worth of things. You will not accomplish any of it. And then in the weekend, you're going to be frustrated with yourself, and then you're not going to build the confidence to keep doing it. Start slow and build it up. Maybe it's a networking event. Maybe it's a date with your significant other. Maybe it's time with the kid. It doesn't matter what it is. Put it in there and then watch what happens. You'd be surprised how much time you waste doing nothing. Nothing.
And I think you just said something, time with the kids. I think a lot of people feel bad about time blocking their family time, but you almost have to do it. I mean, you've almost got to put that on your calendar. If not for anything, I have an open calendar. People can jump on and book meetings with me. So I need to block time off. Otherwise, someone's going to jump on and book a meeting with me. I'm supposed to be at soccer practice or sitting down with my family and having dinner. So that's super important. And one of the things I like to tell my loan officers to do if they're having trouble with time blocking is create themed days. For somebody who needs a little help dialing in your calendar and you're a little overwhelmed on all the tasks that you have to get done, one of my favorite things to tell my sales staff is to have themed days. Every day is a theme. So Monday, for example, is your marketing day, and that's where you get your content done. Tuesday is going to be client outreach, maybe your database, people that are shopping for a home, are currently in process with a pre-approval. Wednesday, your agent outreach. Thursday is going to be your sphere. So people that are not in the mortgage industry, but that you do business with, like your nail lady, your hair girl, those types of people. Then Friday, your VIPs. So I like to structure it that way, and I recommend a lot of my sales team with that type of structure to do it themselves, and it really does help keep your days super organized and your weeks super organized.
She just gave you the framework. Start there. Please start somewhere. What you can't keep doing is the same things you're doing now. And that's if you're doing nothing at all, right? For those that are doing stuff, more power to you. Add a little bit more, but she gave you the perfect framework. Now, this pizza over here, y'all.
We got to get it out.
I'm losing it over here. So I'm getting ready. We're about to enjoy.
All right.
You need help? Or you got it?
Nope, I think I got it. Okay.
That'll shut. Want to turn this off?
Yep, please. Thank you. I'll let that cool a little bit, and then I'll cut it up. How's it look?
It's so good.
How's it smell?
It smells so good.
This I've made a couple different versions of. So if I'm going to a party or something, I've done like little pastry cups and stuffed it with the cheese and baked them. So the little bite-sized ones, or you can make the pizza and cut it into a bite-sized. Yep.
All right, now we're topping it off here with some arugula, it looks like.
Yep.
And a little bit of that balsamic, I assume. Is that what that is?
Yep.
Perfect. So as you're going through here, finalizing this perfect pizza for us, which I'm going to make for my my wife and kids when I get back. I'm curious, your kids, mine are 18 months, and then I have a 4-month-old. What would they say if I asked them, what does your mom do? What would they tell you? What would they say to me?
Oh, depends on which one you ask. Well, my 9-year-old did a school project one time, and she told everyone that I like to drink wine. So that was great, going into school with that on my my mom loves things that they put up in the classroom. But what do I like to do? I love to just spend time with my kids. And it's funny that you asked that question, because I had got my daughters, we got all 3 of the kids a journal. It's called the Big Life Journal. It's prompts that helps them with their growth mindset and affirmations and things like that. And it's all very positive. And one of the things that my daughter just completed in there was a little synopsis of your family and what does your mom like to do? And those are the questions. And her answer was, my mom likes to cuddle me on the couch. So she would say that. My oldest would probably tell you that, gosh, that could go either way. She's 12, she's sassy. So she, probably the same thing. I just hang out with my kids. I mean, I don't do much outside of that. I love to go hiking and get them outdoors. We snowboard a lot. We just actually went to Tahoe a couple weekends ago to do that. So she would probably tell you that I just like to remain active and get out with my kids and have fun with them. It's probably like a really boring answer, but.
No, it's not. It's a real answer. And that's why it's always cool. Cause you think about it and it's crazy because we have our own world, right?
Yeah.
And now you guys have a world together, and it becomes as one. But then you look at the kids, and it's they're looking at a whole different bubble,
right?
And that's always the part that's fascinating to me, because we wake up, we have our stress, we have our issues,
yeah.
But yet our kids, thank God, it's a beautiful thing. we always find a way to like keep them out of that stress. So even what you said, the reason I don't think it's a bad answer is I can tell mom doesn't let them feel that stress. Mom says, I got it.
Hopefully
Don't worry.
not.
Well,
Yeah,
the best way
hopefully
that you can,
not.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's a lot to do with the way they answer those questions. Like that's why I'm always curious about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And it'd be funny. I'll have to actually ask them when they're on vacation right now. So when they get back, I'll have to ask them that question, and then I'll follow up and let you know what the real answer is.
No, I'm just always curious. You know, when I can ask my kids, I can't wait. Like, just what do you think Dad does?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, great, perfect.
Right. Yeah.
So before we enjoy this, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So I want you to think about your journey in life, and I want you to think about the 18-year-old version of you. And this is the individual. I'd like you to go back to the person that was ready to accept the job offer.
Okay.
As a receptionist, was ready to take on the health benefits. And I want you to imagine that she just had that conversation with that person and she's going home. But now I don't know how you got home that day. However, this day, this person's walking home. Okay. And it's that version of you. You get to see her as you are today. And you get to talk to her. And you can kind of see the look on her face. She's probably excited, a little nervous, like, who was this person? When you go up to talk to her, what would you tell her about the journey she's about to embark on? And what would you tell her to avoid?
Mortgage specifically or life? Life. So the journey that you're about to embark on, it's kind of a two-part question because I would tell her when an opportunity comes your way, say yes. But then on the flip side of that, learn when to say no. And that's probably very confusing, but set your boundaries is probably a much better. So set what your non-negotiables are. And I think a lot of that has to do with looking inward and figuring out who you are as a person and who you want to be. In the beginning, we talked about setting a vision as a company. You have to do that in your personal life too. You've got to set a vision of what your future looks like. Just visualize it. Do a vision board, create a Pinterest board and put stuff on it that you want. But get real clear on that. And then anything that doesn't fit with that is a boundary for you. So set your boundaries and be able to say no and learn how to say no early and be okay with saying no. I think for women especially, it's hard to say no. We've had to practice it a lot and I'm still not great at it, but learn to say no early and honor yourself early on. And then on the other side of that, when an opportunity presents itself, say yes, just say yes. You're so young, you have so much life still ahead of you and so much time to figure it out that you don't need to have all the answers at 18, but just start saying yes to stuff and experience what life can give you, what it can bring to you. Because you never know where that yes might lead. I didn't know saying yes to a mortgage receptionist position when I didn't even know how to spell mortgage or knew what FHA was would lead me to where I am today. But it was because I said yes.
I love that. Thank you. We're about to enjoy this. I cannot wait. And then I might throw another curveball your way.
Sure.
With it.
Do it.
But all right. So here we go. It is done and it looks fantastic. We are about to try our first bite. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. Any piece?
Go for it.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. Y'all, you got to make it. You got to try this. This was easy. It's delicious. It's super fantastic and easy to put together. Nice little date night. Nice dinner for the family. Take you less than 30 minutes to have this. Thank you so much. We appreciate you big time.
I appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Cheers. Until next time.